for the hottest news out of the obstacle racing scene? Want to stay up to date on the freshest info, the latest podiums, and hear interviews with the who's who in OCR? Well, you've come to the wrong place. Well, some of that you'll find here. But we're not the media. This is not ORM, OCM, OCRM, ORCM. This is OCR Talk.
Hello and welcome to OCR Talk. This is Jason Dupree, and it is Monday after OCRWC 2023, and I'm driving the drive from Mammoth Lakes back to Reno, driving out of Mammoth area right now, and it's just gorgeous. And man, what a weekend it's been. So I would like to kind of recap obviously a little bit of OCRWC itself, but talk about all the technical stuff. And I'm in good spirits because it ended up well in the end, but we had some tricky stuff to deal with, and it was a lot of work. So let's get into it. The race itself was exciting, and the pros, didn't disappoint. They put in some good hard efforts, and we saw in the 3K, the guys had there was no close battles, but they all ran hard, and we actually saw some people have issues at Gibbons that we didn't expect. That I think Tyler Veerman expected to come into this like he was planning on. I even saw his Instagram post saying he was coming in planning to win, and he had issues with Gibbons, and that kind of went out the window, and so he just didn't really recover from it. He didn't really have the heart to push after, just because his A plan, got broken. So pretty wild. But the women, Lindsay and Nicole on the A-frame together, and Nicole was behind Lindsay, and Lindsay was going down. I think she did one flip, and then she was going down on her booty, kind of scooting down, and Nicole did at least 2, maybe 3 flips down. She just was full send all the way. And that was wild. We did capture that on the live feed, so that was exciting. And the 15K, we saw Ryan and Lindsay run away with it. I mean, they both just got out there and put in the work, and I'm pretty sure they had clean races, and that was it. I mean, they were just way ahead of everybody, and nobody could touch them that day. Really awesome. The team races were just as fun, as exciting as ever. You saw lots of smiles and lots of cheers, and everybody was just having a good time. And the 100 meter, we saw a pretty young guy, I think his name was Yuri, win, and I'm blanking on the female's name, but we saw him put in some pretty amazing maneuvers getting through those rigs and obstacles. That one was pretty fun. I'll talk about some of the technical stuff on that and kind of where I ended up during that race in a little bit. Overall, working with OCRWC and Spartan to make all this happen. All the teams on both sides. People are worried about Spartan being, they're going to Spartanize it and all this stuff. I mean, they brought manpower, and it showed. They just had a lot of people putting in hard work, and it ended up being a great race because of that. Great weekend. I don't recall hearing anybody having any complaints about the race or the course or any of the typical stuff that people might complain about. I honestly can't think of a single thing that I've heard. I mean, I was behind a computer most of the weekend, but still. So that's awesome. Now, I do know prize purse wise, they didn't get their money right on the stage, so I can't confirm that they got paid yet. But I do know that was a very high priority for Adrian and OCRWC. So hopefully they got that taken care of. Mammoth itself was gorgeous. The village, the Where the race was about 9 minutes from where I stayed in the village, and that's where most everybody stayed because that's where all the hotels and Airbnbs and condos were. So being that far away, while it wasn't a huge issue, during the race, people were there at the venue, but it's been nice at Stratton. Stratton being able to just walk to your hotel is pretty awesome. And I think it lended to people hanging out a little bit more. At Stratton, you had those fire pits and kind of that big open space right there in the festival area that people would just hang out in, and then that little walkway. So having all that right there was really nice. And I think we just saw people interacting and hanging out more. So I don't think we got that as much. So people were down in the village, and, we had dinner with some people, and you see lots of people walking around down there, but it wasn't, it just didn't seem like there was as much, just tons of, lots of people hanging out. So that would be my only drawback. It wasn't a bad thing. It's not like it was made the race worse or the weekend worse or anything, but it's a nice to have, is having everybody together. So other than that, though, I mean, the facilities, like all the places to stay and the restaurants, I know that's one thing at Stratton that you didn't really have, is you didn't have a ton of restaurants. They had some, and a lot of them closed kind of early. And here you had a pretty good variety, and they stayed open to a decent time. And yeah, it was cool. We actually went to a tiki bar and got some drinks and some food. It was nice. So overall, I like the venue. They're saying that next year is going to be in California, but they're not saying where yet. My gut says that it's not going to be in Mammoth, and that's based off of a little bit of back-end knowledge, but I don't have anything solid. Like, it's just like, these two things might add up, but really I have no reason to think, no reason to say for sure. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where it goes, though. Curious how long it'll be before they announce it. Maybe they'll announce it by the time I put this up. So who knows? All right. Well, I guess we can get into the live coverage and the technical parts of it. And I want to start by backing up a little bit and talking about kind of what I've been doing lately, some issues I've been seeing lately, and how it kind of led into this weekend. So for the past while, I've been producing from a computer at my house, and it's a high-end gaming computer, so it handles things very well. Now, over time of doing the live coverage that I've been doing, I've changed from, if you've ever listened to me before, you've probably heard me say some of these terms, but I've changed from using an RTMP protocol to SRT. And in SRT, I've switched from using AVC codec to HEVC. So 264, switching from 264 to 265. And one of the great things about HEVC is the compression gives you the same amount of quality for half the data. So it's pretty awesome. Whenever you have not as great of a cell signal, you can still get, better quality out. So that's what I've been using. And then I switched from using Larix Broadcaster as the phone app that we broadcast, the Rabbits broadcast from, because they went to a subscription model. And while that's not a bad thing, the hard part about it is I can't buy 4 licenses or 6 licenses and assign them to the Rabbits. You have to do it through the Google Play Store or the Apple Store and then you can't. So I would have to ask the rabbits, hey, can you subscribe to this $10 a month app, and then just unsubscribe, and I'll reimburse you for the $10. That's we're moving too fast, and we got too much to do to deal with that kind of stuff. So we switched to a platform called Rivet, and Rivet's actually pretty cool because it allows. They have a web page that you set up the feeds, and using their app, you put in a code or send a link, and then tap the link in it, and it gives the settings. It assigns the settings to the app. And we've done that before in Lyrics. They have a thing called Lyrics Grove where you set up settings and then you can hand them out that way. So similar, you can do that. But you can even change the settings in the middle of the live coverage. If you're seeing that the signal's not coming in well, then you can change the settings and push those settings out to the user. So like lowering the bit rate kind of stuff. Another thing that's really cool is that they have, Lyrics had talkback, so you were able to send a audio feed to the rabbits. With Rivet, they actually have a return feed, so it's video and audio, and it shows that on their screen. So they actually get to see what camera is currently live, because that's what I'm sending to them. We're sending them the output of the show. So not only can they hear the commentators, which is always helpful, because when they're on course, and they may have seen athletes, but they may not, but it gives them an idea of where athletes are, because the commentators are seeing multiple cameras. So they kind of know, okay, I need to be getting ready for, so-and-so coming through, kind of stuff. So it's been really good. And while that's been awesome, I've had some weird issues where I test and everything looks good, and then we go into a show and we get these rabbits connected, and then it's like I can only get 2, maybe 3 working. Now, during this transitioning over to Rivet, I also recently moved, but I've also started trying to use cloud computers, because I had one time where I think it was Savage Race, maybe Georgia or Maryland, I forget. I was in Big Bear for the Spartan that weekend, and I woke up the next morning to produce the Savage stream, and my computer, I couldn't access it. I couldn't remote into it. So it's stuff like that. It's like I can't rely. Thankfully, my wife was home, and I was able to wake her up and ask her to go turn my computer on. But stuff like that, it's like I can't rely on, what if nobody's home? Then we're out of luck. So, utilizing cloud machines, I'm able to kind of bypass that kind of stuff. And I started using Paperspace as the cloud computer. And because it's an easy setup, it's kind of turnkey, as opposed to going through AWS and having a little bit more, you probably get more control, but there's a lot more to do to set it up. So I, using these cloud machines, that's where I started thinking the problem was coming from. I was thinking, because what was happening is I was getting CPU, my CPU was maxing out, and that was causing, so if you watch some of the streams, some of the Decas, that Savage, and actually Savage Ohio, and Deca, the most recent one that I did, the last one in Orlando. So with those, the commentators were coming through kind of choppy. If you go back and watch it, you can actually see the whole feed actually is choppy. So it's like the CPU was having a hard time. So it was having a hard time pushing out everything to YouTube. So that's what I thought is maybe these cloud machines just don't have enough CPU. So let me try a different one. like, because they have, when you create a machine, you get to choose, what hardware it's got, basically, like from a preset, and say, okay, I'm gonna use the one with more CPU or a better graphics card or whatever. And so I tried that, still had the same issue. And so this weekend, yeah, I was going with a better, higher end computer and was having those same issues. So for the 3K and the 15K, that's basically why we missed the finish for the Mint, because we only were getting like 2 cameras at a time as opposed to the 6 that we had out there. So very frustrating. We still got a show. I think on the 15K, I switched from using HEVC to AVC, and to hopefully help. And I think it helped a little bit, but we still basically had the same problem. And probably lower quality too. But we still got the show, so it happened. It was okay. And from there, I was, still obviously just trying to troubleshoot the whole time. It makes it for a really hard show, because I'm trying to figure out while it's happening, like, how can I fix this? I see it happen right now. It's right in front of my face. How can I fix it and try and make the show better? And couldn't figure it out. And so Matt Willis had actually told me earlier on. I was kind of talking to him about my setup, and he says he does IT for a living, and he says you can use AWS. And I said, yeah, if you don't mind helping me out, get that set up at some point. And so later, whenever I was starting to try and figure this stuff out, I was telling him about it, and he was pointing out to me, because I was trying to make sure I had the right. So let me back up for a second to say, HEVC being a codec, it's not a codec that comes automatically on your computer. And so I had to download the codec and install it. But the problem is, these paperspace machines, they don't have the Windows Store, because they are, even though it looks like it, even though you're running Windows 10, it's really a Windows Server machine. And so that server doesn't have the Windows Store on it, and you can't install the Windows Store. And that's where that's the easiest place to get HEVC codec from. But asking around, looking, researching, finding different ways to get the codec installed, I was able to do so. But I was always unsure, like, did I really get the right one? Is this installed properly? I don't really have a way to know, because it's still not working. And so I had it, and that's what I was kind of talking to him about. I was like, I'm not sure if I've got the right codec installed, and I think he sent me some stuff from NVIDIA talking about codecs and how their hardware uses it and stuff. And that's what he's telling me, that if you've got a certain graphics card, you should be able to run as many of these feeds as you need, because those graphics cards can handle it. And so I was like, well, actually, I'm using a better graphics card than that. So he was like, yeah, you should be able to bring a ton of them in. And that's when it kind of started to click for me, and say, I don't think my feeds are using the graphics card. I think they might be using the CPU. And he said, yeah, that's probably where your bottleneck is. And I was like, it makes sense. So I went back and looked, and sure enough, these dadgum feeds, the inputs were coming in through with hardware decoding unchecked. So basically, I turned that on, and then everything started working right. And I could bring in, like, I had 6 cameras at one time. And so from there, I'll say this too. The reason why I had that turned off in the first place is because I know that graphics cards could only do so many encoders and decoders. Now, that's kind of where I get a little confused though, because an encoder versus a decoder, can you have multiple encoders? Or when I read about that stuff, was I thinking, was it about encoders and I was thinking it was decoders and I just wasn't sure? So that's where I've kind of just didn't quite know, because I believe the outputs to YouTube, they have a checkbox for use hardware encoding. And so my thought is that encoding is taking what you've got and processing it into something that can go outwards. And decoding is taking something in and processing it to make it usable within your stream, within your platform. So I think that's where I got kind of messed up. So I checked those boxes on all my inputs, turned on hardware encoding, and all was good. Now, that doesn't mean that we had perfectly clear camera the entire time. One of the weird things was that the camera at the finish line during the team race, that was the one camera that we had clean the entire time on the 15K, but it wasn't clean the entire time through the team race. It was weird. But for the most part, we had clean feeds. But there still was, cell signal wise, while there was pretty good cell signal on the mountain, it still wasn't everywhere, and it was weak in spots too. So that's why we ended up, just to try and get as much feed out as possible, I did lower the quality down as much as I could, and we got as much as we could. So I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, we had stuff up at Skull Valley, and we had Rabbit Sean Ingram. He rabbited with us all weekend. He was amazing. And so huge shout out to him and the rest of we had a ton of rabbits and commentators. We had 6 rabbits every race. It was awesome. And so yeah, he was like doing the trail running, following them, catching them coming up Skull Valley and following them a little bit after and kind of stuff like that. Yeah, it was really, really awesome. Now, there's still other issues, and really everything else kind of falls to the wayside when the video feeds don't come through. So all the little things like graphics and audio and just everything else is like secondary. So now that I've got that fixed, and I should even, like as Matt Wills told me, I should be able to use one of the smaller paper space machines. Shouldn't have to pay for one of the bigger ones. So that's pretty awesome. Apologies. And so yeah, and so now I've got a good seed, and I've got like that part figured out, and now I get to move forward and start making the shows better. So super excited about that. Now we also did the awards ceremonies and the pre-show. So for the award ceremonies, I used my Mito cameras and had those set up. Those worked really well, going through Wi-Fi hotspots, and that's what we also used for the 100 meter as well. That 100 meter course, the way it was laid out, it was kind of tough to get good shots on everything. So that's why the finish, we had a shot from behind, and that's why at the end I was actually down. I went down there and grabbed that camera and went and moved to the front side of the obstacle, so you could see them coming through the finish, see their faces coming through the finish. But it was funny because all the cameras were good except for the first one, Z4, and the first one wasn't good. It was coming through kind of choppy, whatnot. And I went down there and I grabbed the hotspot and looking at it and the number of cell bars, the bars that it was getting was down to 2. And so I moved literally like 3 feet backwards and it went up 3. And so I found a spot that I could put it that it actually was getting 3 to 4. And it was, we got a clean feed out of it after that. So it's just the little things like that. It's so crazy. It's like all the other cameras are perfectly fine. They were, 20 to 30 feet away from that one, but that one in that one spot just wasn't getting a clean signal. So weird. So yes, I'm super stoked. We had great commentary. Just everybody that pitched in, Tyler Mafsessian, Heather Golnick, Matt Willis for the pre-show, Sean Ingram at the 100 meter. He did fantastic. Tyler was exceptional. Heather Golnick did really well. We were really pleased with all that. I had to step in for a little bit for the, which race was that? I think, before Heather showed up, I stepped in on that one. So that was interesting. Producing while, not that I haven't done that before, but rabbits were out there and, people always want to complain about the rabbits. And oh man, I saw the best YouTube comment said, if I can teach a CEO how to run a Zoom meeting, then you should be able to teach a rabbit how to operate a gimbal properly or something like that. It's like, oh my God, come on. Because running a Zoom meeting is definitely the same. And how much time did you have to do that? It's so ridiculous. So a gimbal, while it's not a complicated piece of equipment, there are some nuances to it, and every gimbal, got its differences. So teaching people how to use them, it's and we've only got limited time too. They get there an hour before the race and it starts, and so we've got limited time. And I'm trying to do a bunch of other setup. Oh, that was another thing. I had Denise Hahn, who has rabbited for us before at Big Bear. She helped just be a production assistant the entire time, which was amazing because she helped to get everybody set up with their gimbals and the headsets, and that was immeasurable. I mean, my wife April helped me last year. Having a production assistant is huge. I mean, there's obviously what I do could be 6 different jobs, so having at least one other person to help is pretty awesome. So I think that covers it for the weekend. Oh, yeah, just going back to the things, the gimbals. Some people pick it up quicker than others, and that's understandable. It's not like if I had the choice and said, hey, I'm going to hire and pay some people and I get to choose who they're going to be the rabbits, obviously we would choose certain people over others because some people are just better at it than others. But that does not mean that the people that are not quite as good aren't immeasurable in their, like, how much help they provide to us, because without them, we got no camera at all. Like, sure, maybe they accidentally look at the ground a couple times, or maybe the gimbal freaks out on them and it spins around and they don't know what to do. That's okay, because we wouldn't have any shot if they weren't there. So complaining about their skill level is ridiculous, because those people still put in the time and the effort. When it gets to the point that we can pay and it becomes a profitable business that we can actually start to improve this kind of stuff, if we could hire a rabbit team, that would be amazing. But until then, we're going to be extremely grateful for these people that are putting in their time. Sure, we do give them some stuff back for it, like a race code and some shirts and stuff, but, they're still taking their time away to help make this sport better. So thank you to all those people. And anybody wants to complain about those people's skill and us having those people on the footage, then you come and do it better. You want to complain, put your money where your mouth is, and come and help. And because we'll take the help, we'll take all the help we can get because we all want it to be good. So come help. Don't complain. Don't be nasty. Just come help. I love hearing feedback. I do really love hearing feedback. A lot of times the feedback is stuff that I've already, thought through. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to hear something that I haven't thought about or hadn't tried. So there's no harm in giving feedback. But if you give nasty feedback or just ridiculous feedback, like if I can teach a CEO to do a Zoom meeting, like that doesn't help. If you want to help, be considerate, be nice, don't be afraid to be honest. That feed sucked because of this. That's fine. But help, be helpful. Don't just be nasty. That's silly. So, now another thing that is awesome and kind of wild is that Savage had their second to last race in their series this weekend too. So it was Savage in Dallas, which is hilarious because that's where I live. And, I would have been on site for sure for that one if I weren't at OCRWC. Time-wise, their race overlapped with the 15K start. So they started at 9 o'clock Central, and we were, the pros started at 8 a.m. Central 8 a.m. Pacific at OCRWC. So there was basically the Savage race started an hour earlier than the pros at OCRWC. Now, Savage races, most of the time, the pro men, and maybe even the pro women are finishing under an hour. But the show definitely goes longer than that because the women start, 5 to 15 minutes after the men. And we're always trying to stay on as long as possible so that we can capture at least the top 3 women, if not the top 10, depending on where people are. So there was no way that we could do both shows. I would have had to get somebody else. We would have had to do something weird, get another copy of VMix and like all that stuff. And that was an option, but we decided let's not do that because we want the audiences to be able to watch both and not take away from one by having them, not take away from the other by having them both at the same time. So we opted for something that we had been wanting to do for a while anyway, because whenever they're at a venue where the cell signal is bad, what we've thought about doing is having a post, still trying to think of the name of it, post-race live coverage. Basically taking footage that's gotten recorded onto their phones, onto the rabbits' phones, and lining it up and playing it, and then having the show live over that footage. So camera switching is live, graphics are live, commentators are live, and we're just rewatching the footage. That is the quickest way that we can turn around a show without having to do a bunch of video editing. And so we did it, and it ended up being a pretty smooth process. We definitely got some things about it that we can tighten up, but overall, I was extremely pleased with how it went. So what we did is we actually used Lyrics, which it gives a watermark after a certain amount of time. So we need to not use that since you don't have the subscription. But the reason we did it is because Lyrics has the ability to put a timestamp, like an overlay on your screen. So that's how I was able to line up the cameras. So put a timestamp, so it's 9 a.m. and you can line up all the cameras, like cue them to the right spot, and put them exactly together, and then hit play on all of them, and then go from there. And it worked fantastic. Now we do need to use a different app. Need to find an app that can do an overlay with a timestamp, and I know they have several that can do it, but the ones I've found, they have ads, which is not a problem. It's not intrusive ads. It doesn't like stop the feed or anything, but it makes it free. But the ones I saw didn't allow using the wide angle lens on your camera. So not the end of the world, but that would be a nice to have. So I'm looking for, so if anybody knows of one, looking for an app that can record video locally and put a timestamp on the screen and like be able to modify it too. So I need to put it up in the corner so I can cut it out and, change the formatting of it or something. Color wise, I need to figure out a color that will be visible. I actually need to just do it with a dark black background and white text. That way it doesn't matter what the sky looks like, or, you still be able to see it. So, and needed to be able to record locally with a timestamp and preferably be able to use the wide angle camera on your wide angle lens on your camera. So if anybody knows of that, let me know. Hit me up on Instagram or jdupree @_OCR or Jason at theocrreport.com. But it was great. Yeah, we had, so another piece of that puzzle is right after the race was over, so I sent Kevin Harkins, he's a running buddy of mine, and he was down there to rabbit, and Randall Jeffries rabbited as well. He's rabbited with us before. He's a good dude. And so I sent Kevin with a laptop and a Wi-Fi hotspot. And so right after the race was over, they took their phones, plugged them into the computer, and drug the files into a cloud folder. So that way, right away, it would start uploading the files. So I think it was, so you think the day finished at, 10:30 their time, Central Time. And our plan was to have the show at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. And so my hope was that would give enough time to upload all the files. And it worked out pretty good. So the another issue that we kind of ran into was that they, for different reasons, broke their videos up. Like they started and stopped their cameras, or it did it on its own. So that's another thing that we can tweak to make it better, is to make the recording one file. That way there's nothing really to do to it afterwards. But I have a program that allows me to splice videos together and basically merge them all into one. And that worked really well. Like, an hour worth of footage, and it was able to merge a few files together in 5 to 10 minutes. So that's what I did. Once the files all got finished uploading, and I got the files and I got them merged together. It was funny because I merged them, and as I was merging them, I was naming them the file, the name of the person who the rabbit. And then when I did Rachel's was in like 25 different files for some reason. So when I did hers, I didn't realize that the sorting was I was sorting based on the creation date, but the creation date was showing the uploaded date to the cloud drive. So they didn't upload in the same order that they got recorded. But the file names did have, the timestamp basically that they got recorded. So at first, I merged Rachel's all in it, and then they were out of order. I was like, darn. So I did it again, but I had already renamed hers to Rachel. So when I did it again in the right order, I just left it as the regular file name. And so during the show, this is another crazy thing that happened this weekend. During the show, the computer the cloud computer just crashed. Just shut down. I'm shutting down. Sorry. And so that was very frustrating. So actually probably going to still go to AWS because of that. Like Paperspace, I'm about to contact them and see what their deal is, but it's like, can't be having that happen. That's, we're going to pay for this stuff. It's like mission critical. It's got to work. So it actually happened there, and it happened during one of the live feeds for OCRWC. Maybe the 3K. Crap, I can't remember. So it happened twice this weekend. On top of that, their old servers were having issues, and the morning of 15K, I woke up and turned on the cloud computer, and it wouldn't turn on, and they were having issues. So I literally had to go create another cloud machine. Actually, I had to create like 4 because they weren't turning on, and I finally got one to turn on, and then got stuff installed. Yeah, I was able to get it set up pretty quick, but that was very frustrating. Can't be having that stuff happen. So yeah, during the show, it crashed, and then, it came back up, and then we continued on from there. But, when it came back up, that was another issue. Is when it came back up, I hadn't saved like a bozo. I hadn't saved my setup, so I had to reload all the files. And when I did, I accidentally reloaded Rachel's first file. And so when we started the show back up, things were starting to happen out of order, and it was cutting, to different stuff. I was like, oh, shoot. So I reloaded the file real quick. I switched it back over to Miles and Miranda, who did awesome, and reloaded the right file, and then I was good to go from there. Another thing that was neat about that is that Rachel Waters, who got third, she was at Miranda's house, so she came on after we finished the show and did an interview. So that was pretty sweet. We did get some interviews after the team race. I really wanted to get more after the 3K and the 15K too, but it's just, I was so focused on the videos and figuring out what was going wrong, we didn't make that happen. But just everything was going great for the team race. We pulled some people in and did interviews, and it was awesome. Loved having. I know the athletes, they want to be able to be on camera, because that's part of being, a pro, is like being there and being able to explain how your race went and all that good stuff. People love hearing that stuff, and I mean, that's why we watch the pros, right? Because they're amazing, and we see the awesome stuff that they do. We want to know more about it. So I'm really glad that we got to do that. We got Leon and Ian and Lindsay and the young girl that ran the team race with them. That was her first pro podium ever. It's pretty awesome. I think that might be it. I feel like I'm missing one more thing, but that's okay. Yeah. So they, upwards and onwards. I think it's gonna be good. I think we've got that one problem, that big, huge problem figured out, and I think that's gonna work really well for us to be able to do shows in remote areas. But if the cell signal is not good enough, then we can do a post-race live show. So we've got options now. Really awesome. Now, next weekend is Spartan, the last race in the series in Mexico, and I will be going to that. I still have yet to figure out where I'm going to get SIM cards from. I have no idea what the cell coverage is like down there, and we'll see. This has been a big focus for OCRWC, so it's kind of hard to plan ahead when you're so focused on what's happening right now, but got just a few days to be able to get that stuff ready and get it taken care of and be ready for the show on Friday. And then we've got 2 weeks with no shows, and then World Toughest is after that. So that one, obviously, I'm looking forward to immensely. I can't wait to get that show set up and prepped for my commentators to be able to do the camera work and switching cameras and doing the showing the results and stuff, and then I'll be all rabbiting the whole time. Because that's one of the best things about even this weekend when things are going smooth, I can just turn to the commentator and be like, here, press these buttons. And then I can run out and well, I say when things are running smooth. I can run out when things need to be worked on, like that Wi-Fi hotspot that was in the wrong spot, fix a camera, tell somebody to go get out of the way of the camera, that kind of stuff. So pretty awesome weekend, and looking forward to just continuing this and just getting better and better. It's very unfortunate. I kept telling people, I've got the problem fixed. Can we start the weekend over? So next time. Now we start focusing on all the stuff to make it better. But anyways, I'll stop there. Thanks for listening if you do, and see you at the next one. Take care.